Absolutely nobody wants to spend hundreds of dollars to just enjoy a single video game. For this one reason, Skylanders Imaginators is very off-putting for gamers, and even major fans of the Skylanders franchise are still off-put by just how expensive it is. A large portion of the Skylanders from this game go for $30 or more, with a few of them going for hundreds of dollars. But as someone who has a lot of these senseis and really does enjoy this game, today I'm going to be giving helpful tips and sort of a guide for each element of Skylanders Imaginators, which Skylanders you should buy to get the most value out of your money and experience the most content possible without just completely breaking the bank. I also got a special guest to back up my opinions. You may have heard of him.
SkylanderGamerTV here, and I approve of this.
So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Starting with the water element, the decision isn't really too crazy. The obvious choice is Kingpin. He is stupid cheap because he came in the starter pack, obviously, so this guy is just not going for that much money at all. You can get him for very cheap, probably with the game and probably with Golden Queen as well, as she was the other starter pack sensei. And looking at the other two, which are Graveclobber and Tidepool, Graveclobber I would pretty much just advise against unless you really like his character and really just want him and want to play as him based on gameplay, because this guy is the exact same water brawler as Kingpin, which is that's the only element and battle class overlap that we see in this game, so I really don't think there's a point. And Tidepool, if you think she looks cool, maybe go for her, but she's going to be like $20. Graveclobber is going to be $25 at least, whereas Kingpin, you're probably going to pay $5 at most, so I really think Kingpin is the best option for water, and that's going to get you a brawler as well. Now looking at fire, one Skylander that I tell people to always get is Taekwon Crow. This guy feels like he should be more expensive than he is because he is so dang cool, and he's only around $15. Whenever people ask what sensei to get, this is the first guy I recommend. Get Taekwon Crow. He is one of the cheaper senseis by far, but he seems like he would be a late wave sensei with just how cool his design and moveset is. If you like long range or close range, you're going to like this guy either way, which is why I like him. The other two are Flare Wolf and Ember, which honestly, they're both decent. Flare Wolf is going to be a little bit more expensive than Taekwon Crow. He comes in around $20 or $25, and Ember is a little bit cheaper, maybe more like close to $10, but Taekwon Crow, he's right in the middle, right around $15. I think he's the perfect option. But if you specifically like long range, then I would say go with Flare Wolf if he seems awesome to you. And then if you only like close range counters, go with Ember if her design and gameplay is appealing to you. Now looking at the air element, we have Bad Juju and Airstrike, which are around the same price. And then Wildstorm, who's like $170. So I would say avoid Wildstorm. I don't think Wildstorm's worth that much. As cool as he is, and it is worth noting that he comes with his own level. So if a level is worth $170 to you, then I would say by all means go for Wildstorm. But if it's not, then I would say avoid him. Bad Juju's interesting because she has a really cool concept, but I just don't think she delivers that well, and she's not that fun to use. Where Airstrike, I can have at least a little bit more fun with. I think Airstrike is actually pretty fun sensei to use, and if you can get him in a decent deal that comes with his adventure pack, then there you go. You're getting an Air Scoundrel with his adventure pack, and it's perfect. You won't have to deal with a $170 Wildstorm. You can probably get Airstrike for probably like $30 or to $40 with his full adventure pack in the Griffin Park Observatory, which I would definitely recommend if you want to get the most content possible for the cheapest amount. Earth is another pretty easy one. Like, just go with Golden Queen. Golden Queen's great. I really don't have any issues with her. I know some people might not like her. They might think she's boring or whatever, but I personally really like Golden Queen, and she's very cheap. She came in the starter pack, so she's going to be just as common as Kingpin. But then there is a couple other options for Earth. None of them are too rare. Barbella, I would really, if her gameplay can be really cool, but her design is not the best. If you like her design, then I'd say go for it because she's not too expensive. But if not, then I'd say generally stay away from Barbella. Tri-Tip, however, is another very cheap sensei. This guy I would say is right around $10. So if you want a good close range Earth sensei, then definitely go for Tri-Tip, as he is not going to break the bank, and he's someone I would actually recommend. So if you want long range, cheap as possible, go with Golden Queen if she's still awesome. But if you really like close range and you'll spend a little bit more to get Tri-Tip, I think he's worth it as well. Now looking at life, we have about 5 options to go through here. We have Ambush, who I'm just going to say is probably the best option for most people. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Ambush, but a lot of people can at least like and appreciate what he goes for. He's just a solid sensei overall, and he is only about $12 on general. I would say like Ambush is nothing too crazy as far as price goes. But then there are other ones to look at, like Boom Bloom is going to be about double the price of Ambush. She'll be like $25. but I think she is a lot better than Ambush. Personally, that might be a hot take though, so I'm not sure. I would still recommend Ambush to most people. Then we see Chompy Mage, who goes for like $400. I would generally say avoid that. And his variant Jingle Bell Chompy Mage, if you really want a Chompy Mage, probably the one to go for, is that one is going to be about an eighth of the price. You can normally get him for less than $50, closer to around $40, but he is still going to be, I mean, that's extremely expensive, especially when you can get other senseis like Boom Bloom or Ambush for much cheaper. So I would recommend Ambush for most people, but Boom Bloom, if you want to put in the extra bit of money, especially if you want to get that full adventure pack with Boom Bloom, then I would say spend the $40 or whatever it's going to be to get that adventure pack that comes with her and her creation crystal and her level, the enchanted elven forest. I would say it's worth it. I would say that level is good and gives good content to the game. So Boom Bloom might be worth it there, but in most cases, I would still say Ambush. Now, the other one that I am going to recommend here is Crash Bandicoot. I would say, honestly, just get Crash, because that's going to give you a whole nother level, and he's just a fun character. As weak as he is, he does feel different enough from all the other senseis where I still think it's worth getting him and trying him out and playing through his level, because he is a sensei that you just put on the portal and you unlock the level. You don't need a separate piece or anything. So I would say get Ambush and Crash. That'll probably in total cost you like $20 and you'll be set. But if you want to go for Boom Bloom and her whole adventure pack for $40, you could also do that, as I do really like Boom Bloom. It's really up to you. Now, looking at Undead, the options here are going to be Chopscotch, Wolfgang, and Pit Boss. And honestly, these are all good, but I would say Pit Boss is much more of a niche Skylander, and he's a bit more on the expensive side. This guy's going to be closer to like $25, so I would probably say avoid Pit Boss. And then the other two, Wolfgang and Chopscotch, I think are both great. I really like Wolfgang and I like Chopscotch. I would say it all comes down to close range versus long range. If you like a close range Skylander, then go for Chop Chop. If you like a long range Skylander, go for Wolfgang. They're both going to be about $15. Either way, I think you'll probably enjoy both of them. I really enjoy both of them. And of course, Wolfgang does have that factor of he's just kind of a fan favorite character in general. So if you just think Wolfgang's awesome, you loved him in Trap Team, I'd say go for him. But if you want a new experience with someone like Chopscotch, and she is obviously a smasher, she's going to be close range and much more of like a bulky, tanky, smashing, destroying, close-up Skylander, then I'd say go with Chopscotch, but it doesn't matter too much as these guys are both going to be around the same price of $15. Magic is kind of hard for me because Painata, I would say, is way better than Buckshot and Mystic Cat. I've really come around to Painata, but it sucks that he's like $50. This guy generally goes for like $40 to $50 when you include tax and shipping and everything. You're generally going to pay around $50 for this guy, which is kind of absurd considering you can get Buckshot and Mystic Cat for probably about $15 a piece. So you could get both of them and still have an extra $20 to spend on other senseis. So I'd say stay away from Painata unless you really want him and you really love him for the character that he is. In that case, get it. It's up to you. But I would generally say go with either Buckshot or Mystic Cat. And as someone who's played as both of them and doesn't really like either of them, I would still say go with Buckshot. He's just a more traditional feeling Skylander and he's a lot easier to use and get a hang of. But Mystic Cat, if he seems like your type of Skylander, again, I would just watch gameplay, see what you like, see which one catches your eye more and go off of that. But personally, I would recommend Buckshot. These guys are both going to be about $15 though, so it's up to you. But Mystic Cat, I think, is more of a niche Skylander where Buckshot kind of has that mass, broad appeal to most Skylanders fans and most people can get something out of Buckshot. Tech is another very interesting one. This one kind of has the full spectrum of prices. When you look at it, you have Neo Cortex. He's going to be very cheap, probably $10 or less, and he does come with that level. If you already got Crash, though, I would say do not get Cortex. I don't think it's worth it to get Cortex as well, unless, of course, you're a big Crash Bandicoot fan or something along those lines, and you want Cortex in your collection. In that case, of course, by all means, go for it. Then a little bit more expensive, for about $15, you could get Dr. Crankcase. I think this is probably also a pretty good option. Dr. Crankcase is really fun. He's a fan favorite character. If you played Trap Team and you liked him, you're going to like him in this game too. He's pretty awesome. I like using him and he isn't too expensive. So I think Dr. Crankcase is definitely a really good option. Now we jump up even more to where you get to like a $50 Skylander with Chain Reaction. As awesome as Chain Reaction, and he's one of my favorite senseis, I do not pay $50. When you can get Dr. Crankcase for $15, do not spend $50 on Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction is, it's not like he unlocks a level or anything crazy. He also doesn't have that nostalgia factor or, you know, he's an established character like some of these villains do, like Dr. Crankcase does. So I would say for the most part, always go with Dr. Crankcase. And then, of course, the last option is Robo. if you want to drop $400 to get the Lost Imaginite mines and have that whole other level along with all those Imaginite pieces and the rarest Skylander ever, then by all means go for it. But I would generally not encourage the average fan who's trying to save money to make that decision, because that alone would probably cost you just as much as buying a Skylander for each individual element in this game. So it's really up to you here, but I would still say get Dr. Crankcase, and if you didn't get Crash, then get Cortex, because either one of them is going to unlock the Thumpin' Wallop Islands. But it's up to you guys, but generally I would say Dr. Crankcase, since he's only about $15, is going to be the best option for tech. Now, looking at the light element, this one kind of pains me. Aurora is just a bland Skylander who doesn't really feel like she's doing anything crazy new or out of the box, but she is way cheaper than Blastertron. Blastertron might be cooler on every level imaginable, but Blastertron is going to run you like $40 to $50, similar to Chain Reaction and Pinata. If you really want him, if you loved him in Trap Team, if you're a huge fan of SkylanderGamerTV or something like that, and you feel like you need to try out this guy, then sure, by all means go for it. But I would say the general fan should get Aurora. That's going to still unlock you the Sensei Light Realm, and you're going to get a Swashbuckler, which is pretty cool since I said no bad Juju or Chain Reaction. And Aurora isn't that bad. I mean, none of the Senseis are that bad. Aurora's still fine. She just feels kind of basic. She feels like she could have been a core in any previous game, but Aurora's only going to be about $15 compared to the $30 to $35 jump to get Blastertron. So I would say stick with Aurora, as it's going to be just much cheaper for casual fans. Now, looking at Dark, if you love Hoodsicle, then get Hoodsicle. But for most people, I'm going to always recommend Starcast. I like Starcast a lot more than Hoodsicle, and Starcast seems to be a fan favorite sensei, so a lot of people generally like him. The issue with this element is both of them are kind of expensive. Starcast is the most expensive Skylander on this list that I would say is the one I would recommend from that element, as he is going to still run you about $25 minimum, but Hoodsicle is generally around $30 to $35 minimum, so you're saving a little bit and you're getting that close range Skylander. However, you're getting that long range Skylander, my bad. However, if you prefer close range Skylanders and you played Trap Team and have some sort of love for Hoodsicle, maybe you love his glitches or his design or his personality or anything like that, then by all means go ahead and get Hoodsicle. It's only about a $10 jump to pay the extra $10 to get Hoodsicle. But for most people, I would still say Starcast is going to be a better option, and he seems more beloved, at least if you ask me. The last thing here I'm going to talk about is creation crystals, and for the most part, these aren't going to unlock you any new content, but it is going to add a lot of new content to the game. Whenever I think of creation crystals, or whenever I think of Skylanders and longevity and making the games feel as fresh as possible for as long as possible, the first thing that comes to mind is creating my own new Skylander, and I think this definitely works. If you want to buy creation crystals, I would definitely go for it. They're going to definitely expand how long this game's life cycle is for you and how long you can stay into it and really invested in this game if you get some creation crystals. I would say get one of each element if you like them, other than Dark. Dark is not worth it. I would say it's $40, and all you're going to get that's new out of it is one like special attack, which again, all the elements have special attacks, so I would say get one for each of the 9 elements other than Dark, and you'll be good. And that is, of course, if you like creation crystals. I would say if you just want to try out one and you don't know really what you think about them yet, then try Fire, because Fire is really cheap. It came in the starter pack, so that's not going to be too expensive. Of course, at the end of the day, it's all just up to you and the Skylanders that you want to buy, but I did feel like I should make this video as someone who really does love and appreciate Imaginators for all that it has to offer, but so many people seem to slander it for just how much you seem to have to spend to really have a good time with it. But in this video, I did want to just sort of point out how much you really have to spend to be able to get all the Sensei realms unlocked and unlock, for the most part, all the content this game has to offer. Of course, there's going to be stuff that's going to be locked behind Robo and Wildstorm, which are huge investments, but that I think you can really glance past if you get one of each element. So I felt like I was obligated to make this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful and just sort of gave you general pricing info and recommendations for which ones you should buy if you're getting into Imaginators. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. So long, everybody. Bye, guys.